Hello, universe. Welcome to the most spectacular wrestling podcast you will find on the internet. You are listening to Tag Me In, bro. I'm Joe Tantillo, and as always, I'm seated next to my terrific co-host, Taryn O'Connor. Say hi to the people, Taryn.
Hi to the people, Taryn.
If you're new to the show, the format is simple. Each week, we discuss all the magnificent moments, turbulent times, and stunning surprises that professional wrestling has to offer.
So turn your radio up and your opinions down, because we've got some hot tags coming up NXT, which means next.
Give me a hell yeah. I said give me a hell yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to Tag Me In Bro. You don't want to miss out on one single second of Tag Me In Bro content, so go on Twitter right now and follow us at Tag Me In Bro. Now I hope everybody's excited for the show, because it is about to go down in a big way. Today, tomorrow, and every day we are talking wrestling. So if you're new to the show, first things first, we'll cover our SmackDown speed through, where we'll give you our analysis of the most important bits of last night's show. Then we'll move on to our Hi to the People segment, where we will talk to you guys to find out more about your views on whatever poll we pick that week. This week, it's going to be which New Day member you think should represent their team in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Then we will move on to our main event, where we'll talk a little more in-depthly about the question on everybody's mind this week. And then we will close out the show with our stars of the night. This week, the question that we'll be talking about is actually inspired by one of the comments we got on our poll last week, which will be, should the Money in the Bank briefcase be allowed to be used to challenge champions across both brands? So we'll be talking about that later in the show. And now let's get to our SmackDown speed through.
Woo!
Here are the only 5 things you need to know about SmackDown Live this week. Number 5, Lana qualifies for Money in the Bank. Number 4, the Club are the new number 1 contenders for the SmackDown Live Tag Team Championships. Number 3, Naomi qualifies for Money in the Bank. Number 2, Styles versus Nakamura will be a last man standing match. And number 1, Daniel Bryan versus Jeff Hardy in the main event of SmackDown Live. Okay, so starting with number 5, Lana qualified for Money in the Bank. She beat Billie Kay, which, like, come on, guys. Are we just gonna, like, what was the point? What was even the point of bringing up Billie Kay and Peyton Royce if she was gonna get squashed by Lana? Lana only really hit, 2 moves and qualified. I understand that she's popular, but she's just too limited of a performer to be put in this situation, I think. I don't think she's gonna add positively to the ladder match. I don't think she'll contribute in a meaningful way. And I would have much rather have seen one of the Iconics in that position. I also don't think it does any justice to Billie Kay, who is a great wrestler, to have her squashed by Lana in what is her first TV match in months. So very disappointed. Thumbs down. Come on, guys. All right, number 4, we have the Club beat the Usos to become the new number 1 contenders for the SmackDown Live Tag Team Championships. This was a really, really good match. They have a lot of natural chemistry, which is amazing. I would love to see those 2 groups feud even more and much more consistently. It's nice to see the Club looking strong. They had to find some way to kind of exit the Usos from that Tag Team Championship picture, which is always sad because I love them. But I think the Club look amazing. And so I think that match was great, super solid, very happy about it. Congratulations. Our number 3, Naomi qualified for Money in the Bank. The reason this gets to be number 3 is because I love Naomi, so I'm happy that she qualified. I did think the match was a little fast. We didn't get a lot of time to see anything. Sonya Deville dominated for most of it. Naomi did win via pinfall. Love her. Happy to see her because she couldn't be in Money in the Bank last year because she was the champion at the time. I think she will add a lot to the ladder match. So I'm excited about that. Again, on some level, it's a little weird that these new talents like Sonya Deville and Billie Kay haven't been given the opportunity to be in a match where they could show themselves off a little bit, but I don't care about Sonya Deville the way that I would hopefully care to see Billie Kay put in a prominent position. So sorry, Sonya. Better luck next time. Number 2, Styles Nakamura. It was officially announced that it will be a last man standing match. That is the stipulation that Shinsuke Nakamura has chosen for their title match at Money in the Bank. They had a really, really great segment. I think these 2 have been putting on truly phenomenal segments. Ha 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 ha, puns. But I think that The chair shot when AJ was like flying that Shinsuke got on him was amazing. I thought the video package was really interesting. I liked when Shinsuke was like, I won't just beat you, I will dishonor you. I thought it was a great moment. I think the two are going to put on an absolute classic. I'm super, super excited to see it. I hope you guys are as well. And then the number one moment we had from SmackDown Live this week was the main event match with Jeff Hardy and Daniel Bryan. Oh my gosh. It's by far the best match I've seen Jeff Hardy have since he came back. Most certainly, like, since he's been a singles competitor. I thought it was absolutely amazing. It was so good. Daniel Bryan won. He made Jeff Hardy tap. The two worked so well together. And then, like, to top it off, the little cherry on top, Samoa Joe, like, came in after he had been sitting, he'd, like, been around for the match. He came in after to kind of, like, intimidate Daniel Bryan or to be like, I'm next. And I'm excited to see that match hopefully next week. So they've done a really good job of, like, I think, of booking this, of moving it forward, of creating compelling relationships, and delivering some really quality wrestling, which is normally the matches are the things that tend to suffer when they're doing these complex storylines that have many characters and a lot of moving parts. And I think they did a fabulous job. And that concludes our SmackDown speed through, which was like amazing. It was easy to talk about because it was great, fast. I felt like the show had a great pace. It was a really, really excellent episode, but we want to hear your thoughts, so let us know them on social media. And speaking of social media, it's time to say hi to the people. This week on Hi to the People, we want to know your thoughts on which New Day member should be their Money in the Bank entrant. They had a segment on Miz TV this week, but they still did not announce who it would be. So you can have Kofi, you can have Xavier Woods, or you can have Big E. All three of them are amazing singles competitors. So let us know. We'll be running a Twitter poll for the next 72 hours, and we'll discuss the results here on the show next week. So let us know exactly what you think. You can go on Twitter, tweet at us, use the hashtag #HotTag. You can email us if you want to share your opinion and have your thoughts read out on the show. Every week we read some of our favorite responses. You saw this week our main event is inspired by a response. And speaking of that, we are going to get to the results of last week's topic. So last week we asked you guys about the Money in the Bank briefcases and whether or not you think they will end up on the same brand. So last year, obviously, SmackDown had both men's and women's briefcase. And so I was like, do you think that'll happen again? Like, what do you think they will choose to do? Overwhelmingly, you guys said no. 65% of the vote went to no. Interestingly, though, for that other like percentage, it was almost identically split between whether you thought yes they would stay on Raw or yes they would both stay on SmackDown. Raw ended up winning that like mini poll with 18% to 17% for SmackDown Live. So again, your general thought is that no, they would be split. But very, very interesting to see that there's kind of a balance between which show you guys think should get them. Keyblade Kayfabe at Desi Phoenix said Raw should have the women's Money in the Bank and SmackDown should have the men's briefcases, which I think is a really interesting split. And Danny J. Pond, at Danny J. Pond, who we can thank for our main event this week, said, are they able to challenge either brand? Not sure if that's been made clear yet, but I kind of hope they can. Easy with co-brand pay-per-views, but it kind of makes jumping around the roster a bit messy. Super, super interesting. And really, Tommy and I couldn't stop talking about it. So that is why we're going to be talking about that in our main event this week. So let us know what you guys think. Go online, vote. The poll should be up as soon as the show is up. Yeah, and without further ado, it is time for our main event. This week on the main event, we are going to be talking about the Money in the Bank briefcases and if they are on the same brand or even on separate brands, whether or not we think you'll be allowed to challenge across brands or cash in across brands, rather, depending on who the winners are. So I don't have Tommy this week for everyone who's like, where's Tommy? He had work, very sad. So it'll just be me, but we're going to work this out together, you and I. Internet. So let's see what we got. So I think that there's like some really interesting foundations for cross-brand challengers. I mean, obviously we saw it with Asuka and Charlotte, and it made one of the most like pay-per-view stealing matches of WrestleMania. And it was very interesting because they did like keep it, I wouldn't quite say like a secret, but they kept it vague. You know, she was going to be challenging for a championship. She could choose. They had us at a point where we all knew she hadn't said, but had basically all but assumed it would be Alexa Bliss. She went out, she challenged Charlotte. amazing. It led to some great hype and some great tension. We've also seen situations like Survivor Series back when the brand split first initiated, where we had Randy Orton coming down and invading SmackDown to RKO Brock Lesnar. We've had the two teams we've had the two rosters invade the other the opposite brands in preparation for this brand challenge event. So there is a foundation. They've given us a foundation that could allow us to believe that a cross-brand cash-in would be completely possible. What becomes weird about that is because this is for a championship, these aren't exhibition matches. These aren't matches that you're just thrown around so that you can bring out 2 stars or so that you can move somebody. So the question is it going to become a thing where if you can challenge across brands, can you keep it a secret? I know that traditionally there's this idea that faces kind of announce their cash-ins and that heels are really the last minute he's cashing in. So it's an interesting premise, because if you have it so that they have to challenge, presumably we'd know about it beforehand, and you can use that Money in the Bank title match to create a really interesting cross-brand feud at the pay-per-views now that they're co-branded. But at the same time, does it take the joy out of it? One of the best parts about the Money in the Bank cash-in is that you don't know when it's going to happen. It can happen wherever, whenever. And yes, there's an element that says that becomes even more fun and more compelling and engaging if at any point during a championship match you're there could be somebody from another brand behind that curtain just waiting to pop out. But would it feel as fulfilling? I think where the challenge and the onus really lies is on their creative team. But I really feel if it were just totally random, there wouldn't, if it was completely random in that it was I don't know, let's take a SmackDown superstar like Ty Dillinger. And you've got Ty Dillinger coming in to cash in on Roman Reigns, which yes, we would all love, but no, it's never going to happen. But if we had that scenario and we'd just seen Roman become the champion and then you see Ty come out, would there be an initial moment of confusion? And do you think that would take away from what is inevitably to anyone else's eyesight? If it had happened on SmackDown where we knew it could happen, we knew there was that potential, they're always backstage, it doesn't have that spontaneity. You have to put pieces together before you can just enjoy it. And yes, those pieces will take 30 seconds for people to understand and to realize. But does it take this sense of cohesion out of the rosters? There's an interesting idea there that it could be used to transition people from one roster to another outside of a time that is a superstar shakeup, where we would normally see a lot of people moving across the rosters and a lot of people getting drafted to different brands. And this is a really interesting way to potentially encourage that without having to break storylines too much or have these kind of hard resets throughout the year. And that's very interesting. But you're not just moving them to move them or to build them or to have them grow. You are moving them, presumably at that point, as the champion. If they've cashed in, then they won. And if they are the new champion, there is an expectation that they're going to be cheered or booed. But can we have that if we have people who are only watching Raw and not really watching SmackDown? Yes, I understand that that's probably a minority of people. But if you don't have the same fan base watching both shows, it kind of takes the heat out of the moment. It takes the air out of the room, because you don't know that they're going to be so excited that they're seeing a face cash in, or so upset that their favorite person is going to be beat by this bad guy. It's literally just a random person that's come and cashed in. Now they're the champion, and you're wait, I have you now. I don't really know you. I don't know what you've been doing on your other show, and now I have to deal with you, and I have to deal with you every single week. And yes, one could say a lot of superstars have to do that when they debut, but you don't have the room to grow. There's no room you're not chasing a belt. You're not growing in a new feud. You're basically you're cashing in, you're getting your championship. You'll probably have a rematch, and then you're there. So it's an interesting conundrum. It'll be very interesting to see how it plays out. I think that for the men, it could create a lot of interesting possibilities, but I think they have to handle it really, really delicately to make sure that the kayfabe and the storylines that have been created on both brands can remain that way, especially because now those two shows will be airing on different networks. Like, I don't know if everyone's heard, I imagine they have, but that Raw will be staying on the USA network, and SmackDown Live actually was purchased by Fox. So SmackDown will be airing on Fridays, Raw will be on Mondays. It kind of makes sense for their transition of how they do pay-per-views. So, like, in theory, you're, at the SmackDown place on Friday, you have Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday you have Monday Night Raw. But it really does make it interesting because there's not that, like, last night you said this, today you said this. There's going to be a full week almost between us seeing Raw and us seeing SmackDown. So they already have to make sure that those storylines are so compelling and specific that you don't feel like you're missing out because that second brand isn't there the next night. So to have somebody challenge in that way could work out very well, or you could end up with a lot of confused fans and a lot of people who feel, again, like they're losing out because these networks pay for those moments. They pay for that cash in. They want those ratings. So it'll be really interesting to see how they decide to allow that to play out and how they have to work together with the networks and the rosters and everything to allow that to play out. I think it's hard because I wanted to finish it up and say, like, I do think that the challengers should stay on their brand unless it's done, like, at a pay-per-view. But part of me thinks the surprise could be amazing. I think that, honestly, at the end of the day, I'm going to wait and see. You're going to wait and see. But it's been a fun thing to think about and to wonder about. So I'm happy to throw some of those questions out there to you guys. Let me know what you think. Let us know what you're thinking about on social media. But I think that's been our discussion. Again, let us know what you think. But now we're going to finish off the show the way that we do every week with our stars of the night. Number three this week, we have Big E. His match with The Miz was amazing. I thought it was really, really good. Very fun. A lot of, like, shows of athleticism. Big E is great. And it felt like they were really foreshadowing a championship run with him, the way that the announcers were putting him over from a lot of what we saw. So, and we thought, he's great. It would be amazing to see. So Big E is number 3. Number 2, we have Shinsuke Nakamura. Shinsuke's heel turn has truly just been incredible. I mean, he makes these, like, top 3 lists for us, like, probably every single week because he has such an impact. And I still think that the way that his character is developing, like, the tactics, how low he'll sink, like, he keeps finding new ways to energize it, and everything he does is amazing. I could not be more excited for his match with AJ Styles. I think it's going to be great. And number 1, for I believe the second week in a row, is Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan and Jeff Hardy had an amazing, amazing main event match. Daniel Bryan said that he was going to make, like, a Legends tap, and he did. I think he's bringing out the best in Jeff Hardy. I think that he was also able to balance that with the fact that he turned around and made us excited for next week's episode with Smo Joe. And I think that it takes a real true star to be able to put all those balls in the air and juggle them well and come off like a champion, which is what Daniel Bryan always does. So congratulations, Daniel Bryan. You deserve it. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us here at Tag Me In Bro. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Tag Me In Bro. We are on Podbean, TuneIn, iTunes, SoundCloud. I definitely think a couple more still, but please listen, subscribe to the podcast. As always, we're eager to hear your thoughts, your comments, questions, your answers. Let us know what you liked, what you hated, what you could give a fuck about. I've been Taryn O'Connor. We miss Tommy, but he'll be back next week for another episode of SmackDown Live. So until then, goodbye, universe!